Hi friends, it's Leanne from Creative Wings Art Shop. Welcome to our next kit on our Etsy shop. This one is a super fun one. I'm so happy that you have purchased it and are here ready to create another piece with us. We've missed you. Life is hard, friends. We're not going to focus on the hard today. Today we're going to focus on making art. So the piece that we're doing today is called Guacamole. And this is what our final piece is going to look like, with the exception of a couple different ribbons and papers and paint. This piece originated from something that I would tell my daughters for years. I've told them for years, whenever they're kind of feeling down or feeling like they're not, one of the quote unquote popular girls, or maybe they just don't understand, something that's happening in their life and they're just feeling down on themselves. I will always say to them, hey, you are not free salsa. You, my sweet, you are guacamole. And the whole metaphor of that is that, when you go into a restaurant, a Mexican restaurant, they have the free salsa and chips out on the table and you start munching that. But if you really want that special guacamole, you have to pay extra for it. And they come to your table side and they make it for you. And I try to, in a strange way, tell the girls that that's what they are. They are not that free salsa that's just there for anybody to pick at and grab. They are the guacamole, and the good tableside guacamole, that is. So I love this saying, I love this piece, and it's very dear to me and my daughters. So that is what the kit is that you're gonna be working on today. When you receive your kit, you're gonna get something kind of in a bag like this. You're going to have a lot of your papers already not pre-cut. They're not all pre-cut, but you will find when you pull out your items that everything is traced. So you don't have any templates, everything is traced for you. I've gone ahead and I've already pre-cut mine. You can do that before we even begin, or you can just wait and kind of see how it unfolds. Everything from the canvas to the right side of our camera, these are the items that you will receive in your kit. So it's all of these papers. And again, your pattern will be a little different than the ones that I'm showing here. Your color may be different as well. But you're gonna have all of these items. The additional items that you could use if you have them in this, for this project, are these items here on the left. A Sharpie, I just pulled a thick one and a ultra fine in case I wanted to use it. A Stays On ink pad, which I love them, but you don't necessarily need it, but if you have it, great. Tacky glue or some sort of glue, and then a scissors. So we're gonna get going with this project. It really is a quick one. Feel free to pause at any time so you can kind of catch up. We're just gonna jump in. This particular one that I'm doing, I love the paper. I think it's super fun. And I'm using a bright lime green. So you're gonna open up your paint, which should be in your kit. Again, you may not have this color, or you might. And you're just going to paint it on. We tried to just stick with colors that would be really fun and vibrant and exciting, that kind of went with the theme of our guacamole. So I'm gonna paint this on, and you can tell, guys, you just got a little bit of paint because we have a little canvas. This is done on an 8x10, and we just wanna get that on all different directions. It does not have to be perfect. Just kind of spread that on. I always do the sides of my canvas. And if you are taking classes here, you know that that's part of the drill. So make sure you get those sides done. And keep in mind, we're going to be covering a lot of this with paper. So it's okay if you see a couple brush strokes here and there. Don't worry too much about it. So I do all edges and sides of my canvas. This is such a great color. I do love this color. We're gonna put that down, and we're gonna give this about a minute or two to dry. While this is drying, this is a great time for you to go ahead and go ahead and cut all of those items inside your bag. So now you can take that time, go and cut out your guacamole or your avocado. Just kind of follow the lines. Everything should have a line on it, either pencil drawn or marker. The only thing that you're not gonna be cutting, you're not gonna cut your tortilla chips. You're not gonna cut this piece. There's nothing marked on it. This is what is actually going to be our guacamole in the bowl. It's like a little lovely piece of mulberry, and then this piece as well. So don't worry about cutting those or your words. You can kind of leave those, but go ahead and cut. I'm gonna pause this for a second and then come back, give you time to do that. You can pause your video and cut, and then we'll be right back. Friends, once you have your canvas painted and it has dried and you have cut out all of your pieces, we're really ready to start to assemble this project. Like I said, it's a pretty easy one, but it's so much fun. I just love it. Okay, so you have your piece of paper here. That's going to be your tabletop for your piece. It's already pre-cut to the size that you need. You can, if you would choose to, if you'd like, if you have this, you can go ahead and ink the edge of your paper. And how you do that, again, is you open your ink pad. If you have a stays-on ink pad, most of them have a protective inner cover on them. You take that off, and the side of the print that will be showing, that will be faced up on your canvas, that is the side that you kind of rub along the edge. Anybody who's taken classes with me knows we just love a good inking. It really helps kind of makes things a little bit more distressed and helps them kind of stand out. So once that is inked, we're gonna take our glue and we're going to apply a pretty good coat. My canvas is fairly dry. I'm not gonna worry even if I get paint on that, because we don't worry about that kind of stuff. Go right ahead and apply a fairly thin coat, but consistently throughout this whole piece of tacky glue. Put that on your piece, and you're going to lay that down and just hold that. Okay. The next thing that we are going to do is we're gonna work on our sombrero, okay? Your sombrero, and I'm gonna actually use a baby wipe so I don't wanna get any green paint on my sombrero. Our sombrero is cut on one end, as you can tell. That's because that is the end that will be kind of off the canvas. You're going to, before we even glue it down, we're gonna do just a couple things with our Sharpie pen. So you can use our Sharpie marker. We're going to take our sombrero, and from the point that is not cut off, we're going to draw a line, and let me show you on this one. We're gonna draw a line that kind of helps define the brim or the rim of the hat, okay? So we're going to start from this point, okay? And we're going to just draw a line that kind of goes anywhere on that side is fine, all right? Then imagine that this center part of our hat was there. We want to extend those lines down, okay? So right there, it's already starting to look like a sombrero. You can come over here and add a little darkness, like a little shading in there if you'd like. I'm not gonna do it on this side because I know that my hat is going to be covered up by my bowl of guacamole, but at least I have it over here so that when I place it, it will give you that definition that you're looking for. So we've got our hat. I'm going to go right ahead. I think this is a good position of where it will go on my canvas. I'm gonna go right ahead and I'm gonna apply the glue to this piece and glue it down. Always have a baby wipe in hand or a wet paper towel, just so you can kind of clean up from any messes that you may have made. I tend to make a lot of them, but everything always works out. I'm using that baby wipe just to kind of help lay that down. You don't have to, you can just use your hand, but there goes that. Okay, so our sombrero is on. Next step is going to be our little ribbon for our sombrero, which I just think is super fun. This is kind of a little curve to it. And of course our ribbon does not have that curve. Kind of decide which way you want. If you've got a striped one, or you might have a pattern one that looks something like this, just kind of which way you decide which way you want to lay it. And what you're going to do to kind of help that curve a little bit is just cut, not all the way through, but just a little tiny indication or a little tiny slit along the front. And this is not cutting really well. Let me get a better scissors for us. So I'm just gonna go along the front of this, maybe every couple inches. And honestly, I'm not cutting it through. I'm just doing those little slits. Can you see those 3? And what that will allow me to do is when I glue it, it will help it curve a little bit, ever so slightly, and you won't have any buckling in your ribbon. And you won't even see it once you've got the whole piece done. My ribbon is, of course, wider than my sombrero, so I'm gonna just cut this part off. I'm not too worried about that angle matching because my guacamole bowl is gonna go right here. And I'm gonna cut this after I have it glued. So once you kind of have your little slits cut at the top of your ribbon and your ribbon width adjusted a little bit, I go ahead and I apply the glue to my sombrero, not to the ribbon. It's a little easier if you apply the glue to your sombrero, and then I will just add my ribbon right to that glue, and I'm gonna turn it ever so slightly along with that turn of the sombrero. Does that make sense? And see how it kind of forms that little curve. And I'm just gonna wipe up any excess glue, and I'm going to neatly trim this edge now so that it matches the edge of my canvas. So my hat is done. If you have, as you're doing this, if you see any areas of that sombrero that are kind of pulling up, or any areas of the paper anywhere that is not totally glued to your canvas, go ahead and just give it a little bit more glue here and there. We want this to be secure and last, okay? All right. So our next step is going to be our bowl of our guacamole. So you've gone ahead and you have cut your guacamole bowl out. The next step, what I want you to do is kind of cut with your scissors a line inside of the bowl. So that kind of shows you the dimension of the bowl. And what we will be doing, you'll see why we want to do that in a minute. We're gonna be adding a mound full of guacamole under here. See where my finger's coming through? And that will kind of help give that illusion of the dimension. You know, when you're working with paper crafting, it all is just how you can make the paper work and look dimensional and give it that depth to it. And this is one way with our guacamole bowl. You'll notice on your guacamole paper that there are 2 sides to it. One is a little bit more textured, and it's also almost has like a metallic-y coating to it or something. That is what I use as the front of my piece. I think that that kind of looks a little bit more like those volcano ash or whatever kind of bowls that you get at a restaurant. The other side is matte. It's a dull black, which if you prefer that look, go ahead and do that. But I do like to have this one. I'm going to also ink this piece, and I'm gonna kind of ink it liberally because I want to really see the definition of the changes with the ink and the paper. I'm not so worried about the back because the guacamole is going to pound up or stand up in front of that, mound up in front of it. So you have your bowl. Now, this lovely piece of green mulberry, this is our guacamole, okay? And what you're going to do is you're actually going to tear this mound. You can cut it if you want, but I tend to tear everything. I know how wide that slit is. I can measure and see. So I know it's gonna go from here until about here. And I'm just going to, by hand, tear a very rough oval top to it. I want to have a great big chunk of guacamole. So that's gonna be my guacamole. Next, I'm gonna crumble it up because I think it'll add a little bit more texture to it, right? And open it up. We're going to glue this in, flip your bowl over, okay? So this is the front of my bowl. And you're going to slide the guacamole through that slit that you cut. And there is your mound of guacamole, and we'll be applying glue to it, but that's how we're going to get that super fun guacamole look, okay? So go ahead when you've done that and just add a little bit of glue to the back side of your bowl. And we're going to glue this bowl right down onto our canvas. We want it to be sitting down on the table a little bit further than where our sombrero is, okay? And we're going to glue the top part of that guacamole down. I just love how taking a mulberry piece of paper and then tearing it and crumbling it, and it looks like, you can make it look like guacamole. I love that. Next step is this small, tiny little piece of red mulberry paper. This is going to be put inside or just glued on top of our guacamole. And these are to represent little tomatoes, little diced tomatoes. I don't like onions in my guacamole. If you do, you can add a little bit of maybe even like parchment paper, tear a little bit off a roll and cut it if you want your guacamole to be a little bit more with onions and things. But mine, I just wanted little tomatoes in it. So however many little pieces of tomato that you want to add, go right ahead. I've done 4. I just cut them in really any shape and glued them right on top, okay? Next, we're gonna build our avocado. In our avocado, we should have 4 pieces. You should have a piece that looks almost like a smile, but it's brown in color, like the skin of the avocado. The other side might be patterned. We're going to use the brown side. We also have another green, a lime green, and then a softer green that could be, might be patterned, may just be a solid color. That's kind of the inside of the guacamole. You know how there's like those 2 shades on the avocado, inside of the avocado. This is then, this brown piece is then the little pit in your guacamole. So you should have 4 pieces, and you can ink all of them. If you have ink, feel free to ink. If you don't have ink, do not worry. Your piece is going to be just as lovely. I tend to ink a lot. To include the ink in the kit would increase the price too much. So if you don't have it, don't worry about it. Something you can also do if you don't have it is you can, if you don't have it, you can take a Sharpie marker and you can kind of outline part of your paper with that Sharpie to give you that same exact feel. So for example, I'm gonna pull a piece from this kit. It's another kit that I've got here for the guacamole project. I'm going to cut out this part of the bowl, okay? Now this is the side of the bowl that we want to show. I can just take a Sharpie and go along the edge of that if I want to give it a little definition. So if you're, sad that you don't have the ink, you can kind of use Sharpie in some ways to still get that outlining and have it work just fine. So we're back here. We're going to now put together, we have already painted our canvas, glued our tabletop, and see how I'm getting like this little raised part of the paper? That's just because the paper has gotten wet from the glue. I'm not gonna worry about that. It will dry flatter. It will flatten down. Same thing with the hat, but just help it along. If you see you've got like some big air bubble or some part of it that's really sticking up, just help it down. If I need to add more glue, go ahead and do that. So I have my avocado that I'm going to build. I'm going to decide the angle that I want my avocado to kind of rest on the table. And I kind of like how this angle is He's kind of leaning up on top of, or onto this bowl. So I'm going to start first by gluing the shell or the skin of the avocado at that angle as best as I can. Then I'm going to take this darker green color, and I kind of am thinking like physics here, that the avocado, the thinner part should be up at the top. The heavier, the wider part of the avocado would be towards the table if it were leaning on something, just because of, you know, the weight of it being heavier at the bottom, that would kind of roll in that direction. So I'm going to make sure when I place it, the thinner, narrower part of the green is up there at the top, leaning up there, and then the wider part is at the bottom. The same thing with the inside green part of the avocado, the lighter green. I love avocados. I'm gonna glue that down, and I wanna see a little bit of that rim of the green around it. Then I'm going to take my pit of my avocado and glue that inside. Okay, so my avocado is done. We're getting there. Next, I'm gonna add my chips. You should have 3 pieces of kind of a tan color that are really random shaped. I've already kind of cut these in all different shapes. I'm gonna ink these as well, and these are going to be my chips. Just kind of add a little ink to them. I like to stick one in the guacamole, like it's just waiting, and then the other 2 kind of just leave them kind of on the table somehow. So this one I might actually like pull up a little bit of guacamole if I can. If not, I might have to just tear a bit of it off and make it look like it's underneath that. That's what I think I'll do. I just think it's fun to have it kind of sticking out of the guacamole. So I'm going to glue my top chip, stick that in my guacamole. Put a chip down here and another one kind of next to it. These can really go any way that you want them to be. I don't know if I like how I did that, of course. But really, just kind of, they're just laying on the table waiting to be picked up. Not very COVID friendly, I guess, but oh well. Sorry. The tequila and my margarita will take care of that. Now, as you are building more layers and putting more things down, you might see edges starting to come up more, especially on the different thicknesses of paper. A little tip when that happens is to take your canvas and flip it over and then rub the back of it. Give it a good rub for about 30 seconds and count to yourself. And then when you flip it over, you will see that it's doing pretty well. And you'll find that all those little edges have kind of calmed down a bit. All right, so that kind of helped. Now, next thing I'm gonna do is our little bit of our little flags. You have a small piece of paper like this that should match your tabletop or be awfully close to it. We are going to take our Sharpie, our fine point Sharpie, and we're going to just draw like 2 streamers. They don't have to be going in the same direction. I kind of like this going lower because we've got all this green here. And you just want to really loosely just do 2 lines. They do not have to be perfect at all, friends. Just 2 swoops, just like that for our streamers. Then you're gonna take this piece and we are going to cut triangles from them. So I'm just taking my scissors and I'm just going to make them the same height of the paper, and I'm going back and forth, and I'm going to cut as many as I want out of it. I don't even know if I'll use all of them, but at least I'll have them. I'm gonna do a quick ink on these. That is really not necessary at all. but it's just kind of what I wanted to add to it. I'm gonna go through and ink these up. Then we're going to easily glue them with the wide part, or the smallest part actually, of the triangle along the streamer, along the black line that we just drew. And we're gonna alternate, kind of try to alternate the colors a bit so it looks like it was a very natural process and we didn't kind of try to match it up. We just put them there. So I'm just gonna start taking some of these after I've inked them, and I'm just going to very easily put the glue on the canvas, very in just like a rough triangle shape, and then just pick one up and glue it down. Again, I'm trying to not pick the same colors that are right next to each other, or not, you know, like a continuous pattern. I'm just kind of throwing them in there. And I'm not being too careful about the spacing. I'm looking at it a little bit, but I'm just trying to I think I might just leave it at that. I could put another one here. Let me see how I like that. Maybe, but maybe I'll do this one that has some different color in it. Okay, and that one's gonna overlap that. Okay, oh my God, I love it. I love this color. I love the colors in this one. While these are down and I have a little bit of glue kind of coming out at the sides, I'm going to help them get down. Just clean up a little bit from that. Almost at our final steps, we're going to take our words, which are, don't let anyone treat you like free salsa. You can cut those up. Yours will be printed on a little bit bigger sheet. I like to ink them again. Again, nothing that you have to do. And just kind of place them however you want them. And don't let anyone treat you like free salsa. I messed up when I cut this one. I kind of cropped my F a little too much, but that's okay. You can still tell what it is. You are guacamole. Oh, yes. So first I kind of lay out where I want them to go before I start gluing, so that I know I can make changes if I want to. You are guacamole. I kind of like that. Yeah. Okay. And once I kind of know where I'm going to put them, make sure I got them cropped as much as I can. I try to not leave a lot of white around them so that they can not take up too much space on my canvas. Okay. And once I've got my placement down, I apply my glue. Oh my gosh, super fun. I clean up any glue splatters that might be around. Okay, I'm gonna take my ink and do one final inking along the perimeter, along the edge of the canvas. And friends, our project is done. If I see that I am missing, I do another look at it. If I see there's any areas where my glue is not holding, I will reapply. If I want to turn it over and do another rub from the back, Now that I have added those words, this is a good time to do that. And there we go. There is our project. Don't let anyone treat you like free salsa. You are guacamole. I hope you enjoyed today's class. Thank you so much, friends, for being here, for your support to our shop. If you are interested in purchasing more kits from this and more projects from us, just let me know. We're trying to get them out. We've got a lot of classes coming up in June with kits that you can purchase and then Zoom the class with us. We may then do some more YouTube videos for those classes, but this project is now done. Thank you so much. Be well, be safe, and we will be in touch very soon. Much love. Bye-bye.